Pushrod Fury.
Here we are again, and this video is basically a do-over. There's this huge project of replacing the starter motor, updating the starter motor with a, this is again a 1973 Aermacchi Harley Davidson SS350, and the starter motor blew up twice. We repaired it the first time. The planet gear and ring gear were shattered. We went to the trouble of sourcing these from all over the world, got it all put back together, and then within 20 miles of use, so maybe we started it like 6 times, it blew up again, and there's really no replacement parts. We don't have enough to rebuild it. It did more damage on the second blow up, if you will. And it turns out the root cause was the timing plate, which is on the other side of the engine. But what happens is the mechanical advance, because it's been sitting so long, froze up, and so or got sticky. And so when the weights on that timing advance plate extended, and it's an advanced, sort of the advanced setting, they didn't retract. And so the spark is being sent earlier than it should, and that causes backfires when you're trying to just start the bike. And those backfires, there's no protective mechanism for the starter motor, so apparently, I guess it drives it backwards. I'm not sure exactly what happens, but anyway, that force of the backfire back drives the starter motor gears and just explodes them. And so anyway, we went through all the trouble of sourcing an air filter, which is, we found this nice cannon that fit because the new positive lead is in the way of the stock air filter. We got everything fitted, everything looking great, and just when we were about to finish, we noticed there was a circlip left over, or 2 circlips. One circlip, it made sense. It's from the stock starter motor. The second circlip is not referenced anywhere in the manual, and we missed it on reassembly. And it turns out it's deep underneath these covers. So I'm going to go ahead and disassemble this. I've already removed the clutch cable, moved the foot peg down, and removed the shifter. And now I'm just undoing these screws. I'm going to start popping covers off, and then also make a video of us extracting the alternator. So let me put the camera down. Hopefully you can see okay what we're doing here. You just prop you up so you can see a little better, and I'll get to work. You see on this assembly, a little bit of grease. We put grease on it. It doesn't say if you should have grease or not, but it's a moving part, and there's no oil. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is take the alternator off. So this needs to be extracted with a gear puller. So I'll get to that. I'm going to get set up. I'll show you what we use here. I'll put the link below, but this is the gear puller. So we're going to put these bolts in here. And it's really important to note you do not screw the bolts in past the threads. And these are the Harley Davidson bolts that are recommended in the service manual. And the reason is if you screw further in, you'll hit the coils in there in the stator. So we don't want to, we definitely don't want to hit those. And this is a permanent magnet alternator. So you want to be really careful with it. If you drop it, just like any magnet, you reduce the magnetic field it generates. It could mess things up. You could also break it. So we got to be really careful with this when we do the extraction. The first thing is we need to get the nut off of the end here. This is a left-hand thread, so we're going to pop this off. So I'm kind of cheating here because there's always a brain twister when you're trying to take off a left-handed thread. So I just used this big pipe, this strap wrench, and got this wrench on here, and I tapped it with the mallet, and it came off. There's no torque specifications in the Harley Shop Manual, so we tightened this to 50 foot-pounds. I mean, it's a pretty big nut, and it's on the crankshaft, so it seemed reasonable to me. So there's a nut and a washer, and we'll set those aside for later. Okay, here are the parts. So this is the gear puller. The link will be below. These are bolts, Harley Davidson seat bolts, and again, we'll put the link to the vendor that sold these. And I just put washers. I put sockets on them that are the same height, and it's to reduce, or to basically act as a washer, but it also reduces the distance. It all sticks out. The whole assembly will stick out. So let me get this threaded. Yes, we put anti-seize on it because I didn't want it to bind, and I wanted it to come off just in case we ever have to redo this. And here we are redoing it, but it comes right off. So the anti-seize is just an easy job, but trust me, it does not come off this easily by hand. The other thing I want to point out, it was seated and torqued to 50 foot-pounds. So the anti-seize made a big difference. I think the reason it's hard to extract is they don't put an anti-seize on there, and it's been sitting for 50 years. So I guess I can take this off. I've got to be careful not to hurt it, to drop it. It's magnetic, so there we go. That made quite a difference. And also it's keyed. I'll show you that. You can see it's keyed. So you just want to be careful when you take it on and off. You align the key. All right. And the key is it's a pin in the crankshaft. So you can see the pin there. And so now we're going to take off the coils and get those out of the way, and then we can pull the cover off. So I'll just put you down there. I'll let you enjoy the view. So you can see I took the coils off and I attached them to the frame with a zip tie, and now I'll just undo all these fasteners. So there's just going to be a bunch of that going on. So get all these loose, and there's a ton of them. So I'm just going to go all the way around. There's one in here, and there's two in here, and then just be careful. There's a clutch rod. And behind this rod is a ball bearing and then another rod. So you got to be really careful not to lose that. I'm going to go ahead and undo these, and then I'll put the video back on. So that's the mystery groove right there. And this circlip goes on it. And that's what we missed yesterday. The sad thing about all this is taking it all apart, because we didn't need to take this cover off. But we didn't know, because again, it's not in the workshop manual from Harley Davidson. So we didn't know, we made a mistake, we didn't photograph it, I didn't photograph it, but at least you got to see how the alternator is removed. So now we're going to put it all back together, and we're going to remember that circlip, and then we'll filter the oil and put it back in the bike. So there's the circlip installed on the shifter shaft. We made sure the alternator was aligned on the crankshaft pin. It slid right on. We put the nut on, and now we're going to torque this to 50 foot-pounds. So that's a little bit of drama. And we're going to hold it with that pipe wrench I showed you earlier and get it torqued down. So we'll go ahead and do that now. I'm not going to videotape that. It's going to be a bit of a circus. Well, here it is. It's a good view of the Ron Lancaster starter. You can also see the Canon filter. You can also see the positive lead over there and why we had to move it. So now we're going to try to start it. We've already checked to make sure everything spins freely. That worked fine. Now we got to turn the petcockets on. And the choke. Look at those side cases, huh? All right, choke's here. Oop. Ignition's on. Here we go. Wow. Well, there we go. It's not warm yet. Oh, well, it starts. So thanks, Ron Lancaster and the Aermacchi group that helped. Not the Aermacchi group that kicked me off the site. But anyway, that's it. Thanks a lot.